Thank you for joining us. In case I have not met you or we have not met before, I am Tomi Toluhi, and my husband and I are delighted to welcome you to this conversation, which is a conversation that will help you build a stronger, more unified approach to managing finances in your marriage. My husband and I have been married for, well, it'll be 30 years in January next year. So we're looking forward to our 30th anniversary. And for about 25 years now, we've been working with couples to help them make smarter decisions so that they can have better relationships. My husband is on the call. Would you like to say a quick hello, darling?
Hi, hello everybody. It's a pleasure and a joy to have every single one of you here, and we are so delighted to have you. I believe you're going to have the most exciting time this evening, and of course, get ready for a transformational season. The best is here, and get ready, get ready, get ready. So, welcome.
Great. So get ready, get ready, get ready. Right, we're going to go straight into what we're going to be sharing today. I have so much to share with you, as does my husband as well. So hopefully we'll be able to make the best of the time that we've got together. Now, money matters are critical in the health of our marriages and our relationships. And you all know the statistics. Money is mentioned in most reputable surveys as one of the top three reasons why people divorce. Um, some surveys even give money the number one slot as to reasons why people divorce. But beyond the statistics, I really want to share with you why this really matters to us, why we're having this conversation this evening. For us, it's about the individuals. It's about it's beyond the statistics, really, but it's what those statistics represent. It's the individuals that the statistics represent, and this silent desperation in which so many couples live because they cannot talk about money in their marriage without arguments. Now, I want to share a story about one such couple, who I will call Dan and Noella. I worked with them about 8 years ago. Their real names have been changed to protect their privacy, but their story remains etched in my memory. So when Dan and Noella came to me, their marriage was already hanging by a thread. So they sat next to each other on the couch in our living room with their arms crossed. Years of love and shared history were overshadowed by the tension in their body language. The root of their conflict was different approaches to money. Interesting thing was they had no significant debt. They both had stable, well-paying jobs. They were not struggling financially, and yet money was the wedge that was driving them apart. They had had conflicting priorities over the years, but it had now reached a head with a key financial decision that they needed to make. Now, Noella had a vision for her own future. She had spent years in her profession, and she felt that earning a master's degree at that time would elevate her career, and that would offer her not just better pay, but a sense of significance. But Dan had a different dream. So he wanted security. He wanted something tangible. He wanted a house that they could call their own. He saw their savings as the key to stability, the key to a future where they wouldn't have to worry about landlords, about rising rent, or the uncertainty of not having a permanent home. And in his mind, a home meant safety. Now, when you think about it, both of their dreams were valid, both were deeply personal, but they could not afford both, or at least not at the same time. And neither of them was prepared to pause their dream long enough to truly hear the other person. So the discussions between them became battlegrounds. They pleaded, they justified, they accused. Every session was, it really felt like watching two people standing on opposite sides of a gulf, shouting at each other, desperate to be understood, but unwilling to cross the bridge to meet in the middle. And I have to say, I tried. I tried. I suggested compromise. I suggested phasing their goals, exploring financial plans that could eventually make both of their dreams possible, but they were unprepared to budge. And the thing is that the deeper the conflict grew, the more cracks appeared in their foundations. So resentment seeped into their daily interactions, and that just poisoned the love that once held them together. It wasn't just about the house, it wasn't just about a degree, it was about trust. It was about feeling like they were on the same team. And in their unwillingness to compromise, that trust was lost. Now, I wish I could say that I helped them save their marriage. I wish I could say that they found a way to meet halfway. But less than a year after we began our sessions, they parted ways. Now, the reality is that no doctor wants to lose a patient. No counselor wants to see a couple walk away from the love that they once built. And yet, despite all my efforts, I lost them. Now, my experience with Dan and Noella sent me on a quest to discover what is really happening when a couple fights over money. What is really happening? Because I was baffled by the fact that they were willing to give away or give up on something so precious, on their marriage, because of money. So there had to be something deeper. It was clear to me after a couple of sessions that the fight was no longer just about money. It was about identity. It was about feeling heard and valued. Each of them saw the other's refusal as a rejection, not just of the plan, but of them as a person. And that sense of rejection of what mattered to them financially led them down a path that ultimately ended a marriage that was once full of life and vitality. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever examined your extreme emotional response to a financial matter in your marriage after it was all over and wondered where that response came from? Have you ever been in a situation where something happened in your marriage, then you had a real extreme response to it? It was something to do with finances, and at the end of it, you were wondering, what was that all about? Or maybe you just look at your spouse and you look at them in bewilderment and wonder why in the world they would choose to approach money in a particular way. Sometimes the conflicts that plague our marriages are not even about big things. They're often about small things that can feel like an existential crisis at the time. And that's why you find a couple who earns hundreds of thousands of pounds arguing over the price of coffee. Clearly, it's not about the coffee. There is something deeper going on. Now, can I share a true confession? Until we discovered the principles that we will be sharing with you today, our one thing in our marriage was books. Books. I love reading. I always have loved reading. Or shall I say that I thought I loved books until I met my husband. My husband is a voracious reader with an insatiable desire for discovery. And so books became our battleground. Every time, an Amazon parcel made an appearance in our house, I knew it to be a book. My husband is very conservative about spending generally when it comes to most things in life, except books. Books bring him untold joy. And each time a new book appeared, I would make a quiet comment about the last one that he bought, which in my mind, he couldn't possibly have finished reading. So eventually, he started buying them on Kindle and Audible so that I could no longer track the Amazon boxes. But the funny thing is that this was an underlying issue that was simmering under the surface of our relationship from the very early years of our marriage when we had little money. But nothing changed in my mind when we became more financially stable and well able to afford the books that he was buying until I learned what I'll be sharing with you today. So at some point, I started questioning myself. Why did I feel under threat each time a new book made an appearance in our home? The books were not going to bankrupt us. Most of them were under £10 to purchase, but there was something deeper going on. And what we eventually learned about money in marriage changed my mindset about the books and many other things and brought us into a place of deeper unity financially. And that has been absolutely transformational in our marriage and transformational to so many couples that we've shared these concepts with. And I do believe that it would have helped Dan and Noella if I knew it 8 years ago. But what I do hope is that it will help you as it has helped us. Now, most people think that it is always a lack of money that causes money-related quarrels in a family. And it is true that difficult finances can cause stress in marriages. However, The truth of the matter is that most of the time, what causes couples to disagree on money is not so much the lack or even the abundance of it, but how it is spent. So when a couple does not see eye to eye on how to dispense their shared resources, whether those resources are scarce or plentiful, that is always going to be a flashpoint in their relationship. So I really want you to reflect. The key question that we need to ask ourselves this evening is this: what shapes our spending patterns? And I want you to just ask yourself that, or put that in the chat. What shapes my spending patterns? What shapes our spending patterns? How do we decide what is worth spending money on and what isn't? How do we make that choice? The answer is that we spend based on our money agendas. Believe it or not, you have a money agenda. So each one of us has a money agenda, whether we are conscious of it or not. Our money agenda is the underlying framework that shapes how we view, how we use, and how we prioritize money. So a person's money agenda will determine all sorts of things like their attitude to their work and their spouse working, the number of children they want to have, the kind of lifestyle they want to have, how they see the role of the husband and wife financially in the home, their attitude to giving, to saving, to investments, to debt, and how they view dependence. So money agendas are critical. They are absolutely critical. Our money agendas shape our financial values. So we feel good when we're able to spend money in a manner that is consistent with our financial values. And we feel uncomfortable or even threatened when we're unable to do so. And, on reflection, what I eventually realized was that Dan and Noella each felt like their deeply held money values, which were significant for her and security for him, were being minimized and disregarded by their spouse. And this drew a disproportionate reaction from each of them. And the thing is that the more I studied in this area, the more it dawned on me that when we perceive anyone, even our spouse, as standing between us and the money values that we hold dear, we have a tendency to overreact if we are not careful. So, what is your money agenda? What is your money agenda? I want you to sit with that for a moment. What is your money agenda? When you said, I do to your spouse, you said, I do to their money agenda. Whether you knew it or not, you said, I do to their money agenda. And the thing is that, when we step into marriage, we just don't realize that they have a money agenda until they start unpacking it. And then you suddenly go, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. I have my own money agenda too. So hear me. To assume that the only valid money agenda in your marriage is yours will inevitably lead to conflict. To assume that the only valid money agenda in your marriage is yours will inevitably lead to conflict. At some point, my agenda and your agenda need to be merged into our agenda. Otherwise, we will run our finances like two separate corporations that are operating under the same roof, and that can only lead to conflict. The scripture says in Luke chapter 11 and verse 17, it says, this was Jesus speaking, he said, any kingdom that is divided against itself will be ruined, and a house that is divided against itself will fall. So we cannot afford division in our marriages. Preserving your unity is absolutely fundamental to enjoying financial harmony as a couple. And this begins by understanding your uniquely individual money agenda so that you can craft shared financial goals that honor both of your values. And that's why I created a financial harmony program. And that's one of the things that I do with that program is to walk you through the process of uncovering each other's money agenda through guided questions. And what that will help you do is to open up to each other about your dreams. I should mention actually, by the way, at the end of this session, we're going to do a special giveaway. One couple on this call today is going to walk away with free access to my financial harmony program, and that's going to be our Valentine gift to bless your marriage. So let's just hope it's you. It's just one gift, and that will be our gift to you to bless your marriage. Now let's break down what shapes a money agenda, because this is really critical. Right, this is one thing that we discovered in our marriage that has absolutely transformed the way we approach marriage, and it's an approach that we've used with so many other couples. Your money agenda is deeply influenced by four key factors. Now, we're only going to have the time to deal with two of them this evening. Now, the first major concept or component of your money agenda is your money language, right? Now, you've heard money language mentioned earlier on this call. This one, money language, was a game changer for my husband and I. Absolute game changer. I can tell you from the bottom of my heart. This was the one thing that eventually helped me to make peace with the books. Yeah? Now, please listen very closely, because the next few minutes will deliver to you some life-changing insights, which I've already seen help countless couples. This was what changed our marriage. There's an old saying, which you've probably heard before: money talks. Yeah? Money talks. Now, the reality is that what money says to you may be different from what it says to your spouse. So, understanding this will help you eliminate money conflicts that may have plagued your marriage for years. So, I want you to ask yourself, money talks, but what is it saying to me? And if you're sitting next to your spouse, I want you to turn to them and say, money talks, but what is it saying to you? Money talks, but what is it saying to you? You know, a pivotal moment in my life was when I discovered the research of someone called Dr. Kenneth Doyle. So he's a financial psychologist with the University of Minnesota. And he carried out a study of money attitudes, which indicated that there are four unique money languages which people speak. Now, you've probably already heard about love languages, unless you have been living under a rock for the past 25 years. And just as we each have a love language, each one of us also has a primary money language and often a secondary money language. So our money language shapes how we relate to money and what we value most in financial decision making. And unsurprisingly, it is rare. It is really rare for couples to have the same money language. So the potential for conflict becomes immediately obvious. Now, in a minute, I will briefly introduce the four money languages to you, but you'll be pleased to know that I believe so strongly in this, and it's something that we have espoused for so long and we've taught for so long, that we've actually created a free money languages quiz, which you will find on my website, tomitalks.com. Our team will put the link in the chat so that you can do that quiz at your convenience. So all you need to do is answer a few questions, and you will receive a free personalized report that details what your money language is. Now, some people have already done it. If you've already taken the quiz, just type in the chat, "Done it." And let me see. I want you to type in the chat. If you've taken the money languages quiz already, type in the chat, "Done it," so I know that you've done it. Now, let me say this. There are no good or bad money languages. There is something positive to learn from all the money languages, but there are also inherent weaknesses in all of them. So now we're going to dive deep into each of the money languages briefly. I won't go into detail really because we don't have that much time. Well, I'm going to just touch on them briefly. So there are four money languages. The first of them is love. The second one is security. The third one is acceptance. And the fourth one is significance. Now, I'm going to break them down one after the other. And what you need to be doing is to try to identify where you fall. And if you can't figure out where you fall, you'll figure it out by the time you've done the quiz, right? So the first money language is love. And people with this language are identified as amiable. So say hello to Amy Amiable. This is Amy Amiable, right? So they're identified as amiables. And for amiables, relationships and people are the focus of their financial agenda. So they see money as a means of expressing love and affection to others. Amiables are most likely to feel like a lack of money to spend on others threatens their ability to express affection. So they're often miserable when they don't have money, especially when they don't have money to give, because they delight in meeting the needs of others. Giving gives them joy. Now, amiables are great to have around because they're incredibly kind and generous. And they're very sensitive to the needs of others. So while others are setting up a committee to decide what to do to help someone, an amiable would just go ahead and they would do it. They live to give. Now, on the flip side, amiables can be poor money managers. They will often engage in very little long-term financial planning. They would overspend at the drop of a hat to relieve someone else's financial burden, and they would do it sometimes at the expense of their own family. If that's you, probably type in the chat, that's me, true confession. Now, they often feel that they have to solve everyone's problems, which sometimes causes them to be weighed down with guilt when they can't help. Someone says, my husband. All right, so you've identified him. That's the thing. Giving gives them joy. They love to give, but often they may not be thinking about the future. They just give because they love to give and to be a blessing to other people. Now, the second money language is security. So people who have that money language are called analytics because they are constantly analyzing their financial options, right? So for an analytic, saving and planning for the future are the focus of their financial agenda. Saving and planning for the future are the focus of their financial agenda. Analytics are people who view money as a source of security to protect them from life's difficulties. And that was Dan, who I spoke about in the beginning. You know, Analytics feel that they are more in control of their lives when they have money stored away for eventualities. And they show their love for their family by preparing for the future. So analytics are great money managers, they're planners, they're savers. They're often very structured and organized in their approach to money. And they are the ones that are most likely to establish a budget and stick to it. Now, if that's you, then type that's me. I'm an analytic, self-confessed. If you think that's your spouse, don't point a finger. Or maybe just say they're not there. That's my spouse. Now, on the flip side, the analytics' fear of financial insecurity makes them most likely to want to exercise undue control over the spending habits of their spouse. So they often feel threatened when their spouse spends, even when there is no need to feel threatened. So if you think back to my book scenario, that's what was going on there. I'm a self-confessed analytic, Lord help me, right? And you can imagine the fun and games that happens when an analytic marries an amiable. So I was listening to a couple who I listen to from time to time, talking on marriage, Jimmy and Karen Evans. And Jimmy is an amiable and Karen is an analytic. And, they got into this argument one day and Jimmy was, he wanted to give and it was like, she wasn't on board with giving. And he said, Karen, you're one of these women that, when you die, people won't love you and all your money will be under your mattress. And then Karen turned around and said to him, well, at least when I die, I will have a mattress. You will not have one. Right? Right. So that's the typical argument between an analytic and an amiable. Yes, this is being recorded. Absolutely. It is being recorded. Right. So that's an analytic for you. The third money language is acceptance, right? People with this money language are identified as expressives because they like to express their uniqueness through money. So for them, respect and acceptance are the focus of their financial agenda. And subconsciously, they feel like money earns them the admiration of others. Now, analytics are great connectors. And money to them provides a basis for relationships. So they are fun to be with, and they usually have a wide circle of friends because they use finances strategically to build relationships. Now, expressives have a great eye for quality. They know how to live well in the moment. If you want to live well, look at an expressive. They know how to delight others. They will pull out the stops to make a big impression. If an expressive plans an event, expect a grand experience. They love exclusive experiences and high quality products, right? So that's an expressive for you. Now, if that's you then just type in the chat, that's me. The flip side is that expressives tend to overestimate the power of money. So they tend to believe that money can solve most problems and money can open most doors. They can also be self-conscious. So they often feel like their acceptance with others depends on money. So they buy expensive things to position themselves in a certain way in the minds of people because they care so much about the approval of others. Right, so that's an expressive for you. And then the fourth money language, this is your last bus stop if you haven't found who you are yet, right? The fourth money language is significance. People who have this money language are called drivers. They're called drivers because they're constantly driving for financial success. So for drivers, competence and success are the focus of their financial agenda. The more money they have, the more competent and successful they feel. Drivers demonstrate their love for others through the good that their money is able to do in the lives of others. Drivers are great providers. Great providers. They feel a deep sense of responsibility for the people that are depending on them, and they will do everything to meet that responsibility. So they're goal-oriented. They are very enterprising. Drivers, they normally have a picture of the financial future that they want to create, and they will not stop until they get there. Even if there is no obvious way, a driver will find a way to make it work. They will start a business. They will work 2 jobs. They will invest. Anything. They will do anything to make more money. All right. If you're a driver, just put in the chat, I'm a driver, self-confessed driver. I'm, very goal-oriented, very enterprising. So just put that in the chat. And if it's your spouse, you can out them in this call as well, right? Someone says me. Okay, right. So the flip side of the driver is overdependence on money for self-esteem. So they feel a deep sense of inadequacy when they lack money. They are also quite task-focused. So in a relationship, they're more likely to give you their money than their time. So their spouse and their children may suffer from lack of attention because of this, because they're so focused on, doing what they need to do in order to make money. Now, hopefully by now you will have identified yourself and maybe your spouse. Whichever way, you can take the free money languages quiz on my website to learn more about your money language. The interesting thing is that all of us will have a primary money language. You may have a secondary money language, so you might have percentages of others, but there will be one that will be a primary one, and then you might have bits and pieces of others. So if you're thinking, oh, I think I have a bit of this and a bit of that, that's what's going on there. But there will be one primary one that you're most comfortable with. Now, one quantum leap that you can make in your marriage is to recognize that you and your spouse will most likely have different money languages. And those differences were designed to be a source of strength. And that's really what we need to understand. Differences introduce balance. So in a marriage, when there are differences, that's what introduces balance, because um, with understanding and empathy, differences can be a source of strength rather than cause for conflict, right? That's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be a source of strength. You see, the beauty of God's master plan is that two people with the exact same money language, dominant money language, are highly unlikely to get married for whatever reason. Opposites tend to attract. It's as true in marriage as it is in science. Sometimes people debate it, but in all my years of counseling with couples, I have not yet come across a couple where both of them are exactly the same money language, or or the same temperament. So therein lies the power of marriage. It's part of God's master plan, because if you and your spouse have the same money language, then you will have the same strengths and the same weaknesses. So you'll be vulnerable as a couple. And that's the thing. The news flash is that your money language is not perfect, right? For every money language we have, there are strengths and there are weaknesses. So you and your spouse are there to balance each other out and to compensate for each other's weaknesses. So, celebrating your differences rather than tolerating your differences is what brings out the richness. That's what brings out the beauty in your marriage, right? Because we're supposed to be balancing each other out. Sometimes, what drew us or attracted us to our spouse might be, the strength of their money language, maybe because they're generous, for instance, or, maybe because they have that eye for excellence and, they're surrounded with excellence. But sometimes when we get into marriage, then the flip side of that strength, which is a weakness, begins to annoy us or begins to irritate us. But, we need to take the package together and recognize that we have our own weaknesses as well. So whilst we might be looking at our spouse's money language weaknesses and wondering, oh, why do you handle money like that? We have our own weaknesses as well. So, but when we work together and we understand those differences, then the differences will introduce balance. If you think back to Dan and Noella, their money languages were fundamentally different. That's what I eventually realized. And that's what made it difficult for them to see eye to eye. So Dan was an analytic and he was seeking security in the purchase of a house. But Noella was an expressive and she was seeking acceptance through a master's degree. And if only they had both taken the time to listen to and empathize with each other's money values rather than judging each other and being entrenched in what mattered most to them as individuals, then the marriage might have made it. So money languages really matter, and understanding them will move us closer to financial harmony. Right. So that's the bit about money languages. Now, the second thing to think about is we're going to talk about money history now. We're going to talk about money history. Now, money history consists of a number of things. So that's the second part of your money agenda. Now, you may have some questions about what I've shared, around money languages and anything else I say. Just drop them in the chat, please. If you find Pamela in the chat, drop them in the chat to her. You can send them directly to her, and we'll take those questions at the end. Now, when we're talking about money history, there are all sorts of things that are wrapped up in there. So there are money models, there are childhood scripts, and there are life experiences as well, right? Money models, childhood scripts, and life experiences, right? Now, how you saw your parents relate to money is one of the things that affects you in the way you approach monies, right? So that's a money model. And then things that you were told about money growing up and experiences that you have had in life, such as growing up in wealth or poverty, witnessing financial struggles, or early exposure to financial independence. These are all things that have a definite role in shaping your money agenda, right? So I want you to think back to, what were the money models that you had when you were growing up? What did you see your parents doing? What were the childhood scripts that, ran your life? And then what life experiences have you been through that have shaped the way that you view money, that have shaped the way that you think about money? This one was one of my money scripts. Some of you may know this saying, waste not, want not. Um, I cannot tell you how many times I heard this one growing up. It was a mantra in our home, which my mom used whenever I was refusing to eat something on my plate, right? Something I didn't like to eat. Waste not, want not, willful waste breeds woeful want. How, for you may live to say how I wish I had the whatever it was that I didn't want to eat, which ones I threw away. It was a mantra. And the thing is this, we were comfortable financially growing up, but we were trained to be frugal and not to waste. And I found out when my grandma came to spend time with us that she also knew this mantra. She quoted it to me as well. And clearly, she was the one that taught it to my mom. Well, I'm pleased to say that I have not used it with my children, but till date, I find it very difficult to not eat everything on my plate or to throw away food because of that childhood script, that mantra that is running in my mind. So the question I want to ask you is this: what did your parents teach you that has become part of your underlying money agenda? What has life's experiences taught you about money that, if you articulate them to your spouse, will help them understand you better? Because a lot of times in a marriage, we don't talk about how we grew up with money. We don't talk necessarily about what money was like in our families. We don't talk about the life experiences that we've had. We don't talk about the things that have shaped the way that we view money. But you see, if you have a conversation with your spouse about your life's experiences around money, sometimes that's what they need to just help them, for the lights to come on, for them to suddenly understand. So life experiences are powerful, and being able to walk in your spouse's shoes and understand where they are coming from can unlock deep empathy in your marriage. And then all of a sudden, behavior that previously made no sense to you begins to make sense because you have the context of life experiences. All of a sudden, you can frame it within their life experiences. And then you go, aha, now I understand why they behave like this. Now I understand why they think like this. Now I understand why this matters to them because you've had that conversation. So, those are two major building blocks, money languages and, the life experiences that we've had. Those are two major building blocks of our money agendas. Now, tying this all together, you had a certain relationship with money before you got married. And when we say I do, one of the things that we inadvertently do is we invite our spouse to participate in our ongoing relationship with money. So when you got married to them, they did not realize that you were dragging a suitcase that was full of your money agendas when they said I do. So they said I do to you and your suitcase, right? And then when you got into marriage, you started unpacking that suitcase and say, okay, well, this is my money agenda. This is how I see money. This is how I want to spend money. And all of a sudden they're wondering what? But what we often don't consider is that they already had their own ongoing relationship with money before they met us. And then it becomes a question of, will we go with my agenda or your agenda? My agenda or your agenda? So, what would bring us great joy in our marriages would be for us to together forge a new relationship with money, a relationship that is true and authentic to who you both are, and to speak to your vision for your financial future, right? So it's not about what is my agenda. It's not about what is, the other person's agenda. It's about forging a relationship with money that is true and authentic to both of you and speaks to your vision for your financial future, right? Now, let me share three tactical things that will immediately help us create a shared money agenda for your marriage. Margaret has just shared, my parents never had joint accounts. They talked about responsibilities, and in my marriage, we always talk about responsibilities. That's a great point, actually. I'm going to come right onto that. Actually, you're spot on. Come right onto that point. So just three things that will help you in terms of how you manage finances in your marriage. First of all, approach your money as a team. You both have a stake, so you should both have a say. Financial dominance harms intimacy in marriage. Financial dominance harms intimacy in marriage. Financial dominance harms intimacy in marriage. So money should never be an instrument of control in a marriage. Even if there's only one earner in the family, you still both have a say, because that's what marriage means from God's perspective. The two shall become one includes your finances, right? You're not truly one until your money is one. I can say that until, for ages and ages. You're not truly one until your money is one. Now, very often when I say this, the first thing that people think about is joint accounts, right? But this goes beyond joint accounts. It's not necessarily about whether you have joint accounts or you don't have joint accounts. You need to do what works for you. It's about joint decision making, right? It's about joint decision making. So don't unilaterally make big money decisions without the input of your spouse, because that exposes you to risky choices, because your decisions are based on only one perspective. And what I want to encourage you to do is take half an hour this week to discuss your money languages with you and your spouse, and then discuss your past experiences, things that have shaped your approach to money, and how you can work together as a team to forge a common money agenda that honors both of your approaches. You need to see each other as a team. It's absolutely crucial that when you're handling your finances, you're handling them as a team, right? You're not really one until your money is one. Now, the second thing is this: avoid financial infidelity. Yes, there is such a thing as financial infidelity. People tend to think about, infidelity as, it has to do with, sexual infidelity. There's financial infidelity as well. And that is simply breaking the trust of your spouse by keeping financial secrets. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pause for a moment. So hidden debts, secret credit cards, secret bank accounts, secret expenditure, hidden assets, hidden pay rises, given to your family without your spouse's knowledge. Now, what I always advise couples is this: both parties in a marriage should know what is coming in and what is going out. Because if you share a bed but you don't share financial information, something is definitely amiss that needs rectifying, because it means that there is fear there. And the Bible says that there is no fear in love, because perfect love casts out all fear. So, like I said, you're not truly one until your money is one. Onto the issue of joint accounts again. I always say to people, do what works for you. Sometimes people will have one joint account for bills in the home, then they will have their own personal, checking accounts. Fine. Some people, prefer to just say, okay, well, we put everything in one joint account and that's how we manage it. It's entirely up to you. Do whatever works for you, right? Do whatever works for you. But it is crucial that both parties in a marriage know what is coming in and what is going out. Sometimes people hide pay rises, right? That should not be so. I was reading some research a while ago, and according to research, almost 2 in 5 people in a relationship in the UK admit to financial infidelity. 2 in 5 people. This is staggering. But you can see the reasons why from our conversation so far, because where there are stark differences in spending patterns, one way that spouses use to exercise control is through keeping financial secrets. But secrecy is not a solution if you want an intimate marriage. Secrecy is not a solution if you want an intimate marriage. Last point, create a money manifesto. So a money manifesto is a powerful statement of intent that sets out your family vision for your finances and helps you reduce conflict, because it helps you build trust and foster partnership in your marriage. A money manifesto will work wonders for your financial harmony in your marriage, because it will help you define what financial success means to you as a couple and identify what you want to achieve together. It will reflect both of your personal values as husband and wife, and also, it will help you recognize your different approaches to money and celebrate those different approaches. So creating a money manifesto is something that I highly recommend. In my financial harmony program, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, my husband and I share our own money manifesto as an example. You can build on that to create your own. I highly recommend creating one, because what it does is that all of a sudden you and your spouse can see your financial future together, and your dreams come alive on the pages of your money manifesto. So, in summary, I really believe and I hope that, the things that you have learned today will set you on the path of financial unity and oneness in your marriage. So think about money languages, do the quiz, and start to talk around your money languages as a couple, right? And then also, as I said, think about your money agendas, think about how you grew up with money, the models you saw. Have conversations around that as well, because that will help you frame the reasons why you approach money the way that you do, right? Now, if you have any questions, like I said, please post those questions in the chat to one of our hosts, Pamela. And in a moment, we'll move on to Q&A, where my husband will take your live questions. My husband and I will take your live questions if you have live questions, which I'm sure you probably will have. But I just want to say this. If you've enjoyed the things that I've shared so far, then you're going to love my financial harmony program. And I just want to mention the financial harmony program. You can follow the link, which I put on this slide, or you can scan the QR code to access it on my website, so that you can understand the details of what it entails. So understanding the unique way that you and your spouse view money can drastically improve the strength of your connection in marriage. It goes without saying. And what I've shared with you this evening is just a small part of what we have learned that can help you gain a deeper understanding of each other and forge a shared approach to money. So this program isn't just about finances, right? The financial harmony program is not just about finances, it's about strengthening the bond between you and your spouse, right? And the program is designed for couples, whether whatever stage of marriage you're in, whether you're newlywed or you've been decades in marriage. And the idea is that it will equip you to turn guided financial conversations into opportunities for deeper connection with your spouse, right? So what does it entail? There are 7 self-paced sessions, and throughout the 7-session-based program, we'll look very closely at common financial tensions that people tend to have in marriage. We'll go much deeper into looking at money languages, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what it's like when you're married to, this money language or the other money language. We're going to go into more detail around that than we've been able to do this evening. We'll also dive deep into your spouse's money language as well, why they see things the way they do, and how they're likely to behave because of their money language, and how you can make your money, cause your money languages to merge so that you can work together as a couple. We'll also dive much deeper into money agendas. I've only been able to share, a small part of what money agendas is all about, but there are some other factors as well that shape your money agenda. And the idea is that it will help you to understand what drives your financial decision making and give you and your spouse the language to communicate about money without judgment and possibly for the first time. What else will you get? You will get a digital workbook, a 38-page financial harmony digital workbook, which you can complete on your device or download and print to help you capture the essence of the conversations that you have with your spouse as you work your way through the program. Throughout the program, I have curated insightful questions that will prompt great conversations with your spouse. And your workbook contains 23 powerful activations that will help you put into practice what you're learning. So that's not just head knowledge, but you're actually putting those things into practice so that you get the transformation you're looking for. By the end of the program, you and your spouse will also be able to develop unified vision for your finances. So I'll guide you step by step in building your money manifesto, which I mentioned earlier. It's a personalized document that outlines your shared financial goals and values and helps you make financial decisions that bring you closer, not further apart. You will also, if you sign up for the course, be invited from time to time to intimate Q&A and prayer events for those that are taking the course. And that is really just our ongoing commitment to you to help you consolidate your transformation, what you will gain from the course. Now, if you believe this is for you, this is what your investment is. For all of this, it's a one-time payment of £299, or there's also a payment plan where you can make 3 installment payments of £110. That payment covers you as an individual and your spouse. Now, my gift to you for attending, a special gift as a thank you for attending this event, is that you will get 20% discount, and that's valid for the next 48 hours. So in other words, you will only need to make a one-time payment of 239 or 3 monthly payments of £88 per month to get access to the program. And better still, the thing is, we offer a money back guarantee because we're so confident of the things that we have put together in this program to help you that we're committed to your satisfaction. So if for any reason you're not completely happy with the program, simply let us know within 14 days. We will provide a full refund, no questions asked. Now, if you'd like to take us up on that offer, then just enter the promo code Harmony25 at the checkout, and your 20% discount will be automatically applied, and the code is valid for 48 hours. Now, my husband and I and the rest of the team, we've been working on this for months and months, and we're extremely excited about the transformation that awaits you in your marriage when you join us on this program. In fact, I remember the person that was filming the program, she was so excited. She was like, I've learned so much and all that. I'm recommending it to all my family, and all the rest of that. I really believe it's going to transform lives. Like, we really look forward to walking this journey with you. Now, don't forget at the end, we're going to bless one couple with free access to the Financial Harmony program. I have no idea who it will be. So our team will randomly select someone from the chat and will announce their name. I didn't want to have anything to do with it because I may know some people on the call. Yeah. So to just end, let me just ask you this question. 1 year from now, how do you want to remember this event? What will be the impact of the time that we have spent together? What will financial conversations in your marriage look like? What commitments are you making today that will secure financial harmony in your marriage so that you can look back with joy, knowing that this was time that was well spent? Honestly, my desire is that you put into practice the things that you've learned today so that you can actually make a difference in your marriage. That's why we do what we do. We're passionate about homes, passionate about marriages. And there is no telling the difference that 1 year can make in 1 year's time. Everything could change in your marriage. You don't want to still be going around the same cycles of financial conflict in your marriage in 1 year's time. So you want to have a happy, healthy financial atmosphere in your home. That's what I desire for you. That's what we want for you. That's why, uh, we work together with our team to bring you in this kind of content. And I really trust God, that the things that we've shared have been a blessing to you. So let's make the next year count by the decisions that we make today. So once you drop off this call, have a conversation with your spouse. Make a decision today as to the changes that you're going to make. Now, the bit that I've really been looking forward to is Q&A session, where we're going to hear from you and answer your questions. Right. So Pam is collating your questions right now, but I want to start by asking my hubby one question. So I think my question will be, what three things do you think that people should take away from this event that will totally transform their financial experience in marriage?
Thank you so very much, sweetheart, for this wonderful, wonderful sharing this evening. I must say, first and foremost, that it's been a most remarkable sharing and talking this evening. So, thank you so very much for sharing and all of this great value material with us. I believe it's been a transformative moment this evening, and as I've been reading through some of the chats as we're talking. For me, I'll say the first thing that you touched on is about the differences in our money languages between a couple. So usually you will find opposite attracting. So couples having different money language. And of course, it provides what I will call an advantage, but also with an inherent potential conflict possibility there. So my takeaway and what I have learned, what we've learned together, and what I would suggest is for us to use these differences as a leverage, not a limitation, using the differences as a leverage.
I
We
like that.
leverage. So what I've tried to do over this many years is to leverage the strengths of my wife's money language, and then ensure that she does the same also. And that way, we've been able to enhance our capacity in our investment in the things we do, and being able to just create what I will call our own financial system. That brings me to the second point, because one of the great things that understanding your money language will do for you as a couple is to help you now design a uniquely a system, a financial system that is unique to your own family. No two families are the same, and as such, you will need a unique system that will help you understand your own financial system. For instance, a basic financial system is what I call the three-step 1, 2, 3, which is I'll say the inflow, the outflow, and the gap. So if you can mind the gap, you can always manage and make money, and
Mm.
also enhance your financial position to the point that you can be financially free. Financial freedom should be a goal for every family, where you can make your determination and invest in causes and things that are dear to your heart. So I'll say, so watch your difference, leverage the difference, don't allow it to cap you, allow it to be a complementary capacity to enhance
Mm.
your family. And that dovetail into being able to develop your own financial system. Now, if you get to buy and get the financial harmony course, what it will do for you is that once you talk through this and you develop your money manifesto, in the process, you begin to understand the habits that is inherent that creates the gap in your money. And if the gap is negative, that is when your income is lower than your outflow. If it is positive, it's when your outflow is higher, your inflow is higher than your outflow. And so once you have a financial manifesto, you are able to begin to see clearly where the issues are, why the habits, and then you can
Mm.
begin to become intentional in what I'll say, reshape and shift towards a positive financial design for yourself. And that brings me to the last point I like to say. Now, yes, once you understand your money language, it's also good to understand that seasons do change.
Mm.
Every family will go through different financial season. There'll be season of abundance, there'll be season of, you know, not so much. And what we do in those seasons are heavily affected by our money language.
Oh yeah.
The money language you bring to each of the season will impact how you exit the season and how you prepare for the next season. And it's like uh, Max Spencer, the author of Who Moved My Cheese, will say. He wrote this book, Peaks and Valley. He says it's ebbs and flow, it's peaks and valley. In scripture, I think it's in Proverbs 30, scripture says, go to the ant. They don't have
Mm.
a leader and all of that, but they know how to walk in winter and to save in summer so that when winter comes, they're able to make the most of winter. And so in essence, what I'm trying to say to us is once understanding our differences, now taking that into creating a financial harmony to help us now design our own financial unique system to help us you know manage the money gap, which is
Mm.
all over in the UK they say to you, mind the gaps, mind the gaps, mind the gaps. And so we each need to mind the gaps in our finances and
Yeah.
understanding your money language, your money history, your money agenda as it is wrapped around in your financial harmony will help you to be able to design your system to mind the gaps so you can enhance your family well-being and then invest in causes that are very dear to your heart. Money is crucial and important in marriage. Money does matter, and I believe that's why we all are here this evening, and we understand that. But lastly, let's understand that seasons do change. No matter what we're going through today, I want to help encourage someone, even if you're under some kind of financial pressure, seasons do change.
Mm.
There was a
Mm.
time when I looked at it and I wonder, will I ever be able to get are we ever going to be able to get a property in the, yeah, but today it's a different story, not just one, not just two, but many more properties. So what we're saying here is this: understand your differences, leverage those differences, and then build your own system, live in harmony, and be prepared to switch the season as the season goes so you are able to manage and balance, and that way you will be able to live what I'll say a life that is full, happy, fulfilled, with the money to do the things you need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. I love that. I feel like mind the gap should become a mantra in people's homes. Mind the gap, absolutely. And I like what you said about leveraging differences as well. That's absolutely crucial. I think that's really the crux of everything that we're saying here today. Fantastic. So we've got 11 minutes to take questions. Um, and Pam is a Q&A mistress.
Right, cool. We've got a couple of questions here, so we're going to have to time box.
Okay.
We're
All
going to have
right.
to time box our responses to, not more than a minute or a minute and a half per question because we've got
Okay.
quite a few questions here.
Right.
So let me quickly start so that I'm not wasting too much time. One person here says, is it good to have a joint account with my spouse?
Mm. Okay. Maybe I'll go on this one.
You go
Right.
ahead.
It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. Like I said previously, both parties in the marriage should know what's coming in and what's going out. If that means you need joint accounts to do that, then absolutely fine. Um, so I'll tell you what we have done. So we have one joint account where we put in certain amount of money. So like for instance, rent from our property goes into there. There's certain things like mortgage for one of the properties comes out of that. We have another account where we have all our bills coming out of, and we just set aside money there. And then we have our individual accounts as well, which is where our pay comes into. So the thing is, we do still have some separate accounts, but we have some joint accounts as well. But the bottom line is that there is financial transparency, and that's really what the key is. It's not about whether your money is all together in one account or not, because sometimes you might find maybe a situation where maybe someone is running a business, and because of that, they need to keep things separate. There are all sorts of reasons why people would benefit from joint accounts, and also reasons why they may feel it doesn't work for them at that particular point in time. So what I'm saying is that we're not being prescriptive here as to whether you need a joint account or not, but you need financial transparency. So if you both don't know what is coming in and what is going out, that's where mistrust begins to build up, right? So that's what you really need to avoid. But do what works for you. If joint accounts works for you, absolutely go for it. That
Thank you
way.
very much for that. Thank you. Thank you. So the second one goes, what if my spouse doesn't open up about his finances or savings, and I always tell him about mine? What can I do?
You want to do that one, Caesar?
Uh, and so that is not uncommon when you're in a counseling, talking with people. I guess, which is why what I will encourage is for such a person to be able to have what I call a candid conversations, and get to the bottom of that. And usually it will link to some of the things that has been shared this evening, which is around the money language. If you both understand your money language and you come to a place where you have common understanding, and then if you're able to walk your way to the point where you have what you call joint manifestos, so such that you have shared values and a shared vision around your finances, the direction you want your finances to go, the direction you want the family to go. I do believe that then you begin to say, okay, how do we, begin to come up with a joint decision making process and how you want to go about your finances. So my encouragement is simply creating an atmosphere for creative conversation and cordial conversation, collaborative conversation, where you can unearth why, because
Yeah.
there's a reason why,
Yeah.
he might not feel secure to reveal. Because some persons might think, if I let my spouse know that I have this money, there's going to be demand and a run on the account on the money, and very shortly there may not be enough, to save and for the future. So it's always good to have that balance and have that conversation. Out of that conversation will come a unified vision and a unified value system that will now give birth to what you might refer to as a common process on how you want to handle things, and you're able to achieve some harmony. It will take a while, it may take a process, but it's a journey worth taking, and it's a journey, and it's once you go on that journey, you can always mature, approach it maturely, and then achieve your goal in the end of having shared understanding and shared direction and shared value. Because scripture says in Amos 3:3, can two work together except they agree?
Mm.
It's pretty dangerous not to be able to have that common understanding and shared value when it comes to your finances. So it's good to be able to carry that conversation and go on that
Mm.
journey of
Yeah.
harmony.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It's really about building trust, really, isn't it? Which is one of the things we're trying to do with the program, to give you questions that you can ask. So sometimes, it might be that you go about it rather than, going straight to, why don't you tell me what you're earning? We have other conversations around money about, how you grew up with money, how you see money, what your vision is, and all that. And then, like my husband said, have that shared perspective. And then from there, you can actually get into having that discussion. But clearly, there's some underlying fear there. That was great.
Thank you very much, Reverend Martins. Very good. And whoever has that question, I hope that was helpful. I know it's good. It is helpful. Good information here. We have another question here that says, how can one handle a situation where your spouse is not comfortable sharing their parents' experience with money? So not their experience, but their parents' experience with money.
Mm, okay. Well, that's an interesting one. So if they're not comfortable, um, it means that clearly there must have been things there that, for lack of a better word, traumatized them when growing up. So maybe things were really difficult growing up financially, and they're finding it difficult to share. I think to some degree, it feels to me like there's some work that needs to be done in building trust as a couple, because you should be able to open up to each other. So if your spouse is at the point where they're not really feeling comfortable opening up about certain things in their past, then you need to find ways to make them understand that you're there for them, essentially, and it's not like you're going to use this information against them, but you just really want to understand them and empathize with them. But sometimes when people have had trauma when they're growing up, it can be really difficult to open up, and you do need to understand that and respect that, and take it gently with them. But if you do feel that this is something, and I do agree, actually, it's probably something that would really help you gain a better understanding of how they view finances. But then you need to go about it in a gentle way, so to speak, and kind of understand, well, it must have been, probably it was difficult, and just drip feed the questions bit by bit and see whether you can get to the bottom of what the concern is, that they have. Hopefully that helps. It can be difficult when people have had trauma in their past. It can be really difficult, but hopefully if you take it bit by bit and just try to help them see that they can trust you, at some point they'll be able to open up to you.
Thank you very much for that. And oh, there's a very interesting one here, which I think everyone will learn from this. It says, if you earn more than your spouse and find it hard to give him as much say if he is not good with money, how okay, so how do I manage this, as it's important to respect your husband?
Hmm. Okay, do you want to go for that one, sweetheart?
That's a tricky one there, but it's it's an occurrence that happen from time to time as we counsel people. Uh, I think it calls for a whole lot of wisdom and trust at the same time. So I'll say it's a blend of wisdom and trust. But again, two has become one. And what I'll say is to still, I think it's still worth saying, going on a journey of shared understanding and then being able to define your family priorities
Mm.
and understanding the different seasons of life and what matters to each of you and what you want to invest in, and being able to just define where the future is going for the family, because the vision will actually help channel the provisions, because every provision you have is targeted to a vision.
Mm.
So, because that's why God gives you the provision. He has given a vision to the family. And so it's been able to help, your husband say, okay, what's our focus for this period? It might be, okay, so what are we focusing on in the next 3 months, practically speaking? What do we want to invest in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years? And then cleverly and with wisdom and calmly helping to see, well, uh, we've decided together this will be our priority. I will think our fund should go this way or that way. What do you think? And then you discuss through with all of that. So, he's still aware that the funds is there, but at the same time, it's targeted and it's budgeted. And which is why I think when you're able to come to this financial harmony course with that kind of mindset, and then you'll be able to then develop a system to setting financial goals for the future and having open conversations to help target your provisions towards your vision. So I think it's a bit of wisdom and a bit of trust.
Mm.
And then of course, like Sarah and Abraham, when Sarah was in the line, she prayed and God jacked Abraham in and put him in line. So that's what I'll say.
I love that. Thank you. Actually, someone mentioned in the chat, I think having a financial manifesto, as we have been taught, will help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. No, I completely
Absolutely.
agree with that. And to drop something in there as well about, I mentioned something about financial dominance, and not having financial dominance in a marriage. So this applies whether, whichever direction, whoever is earning more, you need to be able to see the finances as our money, as opposed to my money and his money, right? So it's our money. So it's how you position that so that you feel like you're a team, regardless of what he earns. I think that's really, really important. Great.
Cool.
I see someone's raised their hand. Could you just drop a message to Pam um, in the chat, because you won't be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, cool. So thank you for that. We have another question here that says, please, should the sharing of financial responsibility be 50-50, or how should it be?
Should it be 50-50, or how should it be?
Yes, that's the
Right.
question.
Well, my view is that marriage is not a 50-50 proposition. It's a 100% proposition. So you're both giving 100% to your marriage, right? So I find that, when spouses have like, perspective of, okay, if you do 50, I will do 50, it prevents us from giving our best into marriage, right? Because like my husband rightly said, when he was talking, there are seasons in marriage, so things do change. So, for instance, in one season, one person may be earning more than the other. Another season, the other might be earning more. So if you have a 50-50 mentality where we've got to share the bills 50-50, then that becomes unfair to the person who is, maybe not earning as much in that season. So I think we need to look at marriage from the perspective that we are one. It's not about, splitting things. We are one, right? So this is our money. It's not my money, your money, and I contribute and you contribute. We are one. Our finances are one, and that's how we approach our money. That's the mindset we need to carry, because like I said, if you're not truly one until your money is one. I'll stop there because I'm conscious that we're fast running out of time. Oh, we've probably run out of time already.
I think the questions are getting more and more interesting
Oh
as they
my
are coming
goodness.
through.
Okay. All right. Well, if people are happy to stay on, then that's absolutely fine.
Okay, we've got one more here. It says, does financial transparency also mean that my spouse should share their account login details with me?
Okay. All right. I believe so. That's my view, and that's how we operate in our marriage, right? So that we each have each other's login details for all sorts of reasons. First of all, it's a sign that you trust each other. Secondly, for emergencies, because sometimes there are all kinds of things which we don't pray for and don't expect, but sometimes people find themselves in emergency situations and they know nothing about the family finances. They don't have login details. They don't know what their spouse's assets are. They know nothing, right? So again, it's back to, if there is trust in the marriage, then there's no reason why you can't have each other's login details. Obviously, you don't go jumping into your spouse's separate accounts to withdraw money without having a discussion, right? That's not a strategy that you should approach. But I do believe that they should. It's just the same thing as, should my spouse have login details to my phone? Why shouldn't they? If we're really one, then yeah, they should actually. What do you think, sweetheart? That's how we operate in our marriage.
Yeah, well, again, there are different levels of maturity, and so I guess it's a journey, and I ask people to evolve and develop into what's comfortable for them. But a practical case in point, like you said, as an example of a man who went on a course. His organization, is an executive director of one of the oil companies. He went to the States and he had crisis, and then the wife knew nothing about the account and things, and they needed to do some, move some money and all that. And the wife just did not know. And so it became a crisis point. And so for such reasons, I think it's important to be able to develop that level of trust and share that. And of course, when that trust is given, it should be well protected and guarded, because that's why people lose trust and that's why people draw boundaries. Because some people have had to draw some boundaries, and so at some point, it's got to be a healthy, once the decision is taken and the trust is given, it should be well used. If not, the boundaries might need to be in place, because some people are just they just can't control their spendings, and
Yeah, that's
so
true. That is true.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that's important to call out.
yeah, that's a good point.
I think at this point, I just wanted to say thank you to Pastor Stacy, and Pastor Craig. I
Yes,
saw them
happy to have
online,
you.
and
Yes,
we
they
have
are
some
online.
pastors here. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. You go ahead.
Okay, so it looks like that's the end of the question session, the Q&A. I cannot see anyone. There are no questions anymore. Everyone has pinged me all their questions. So thank you very much.
Great.
And yeah, thank you. I'll hand it back to you now.
Thank you. So it's been fantastic. We've had a wonderful time. I think the only thing that's left is by this time, Zatayo, you probably have a name for whoever is going to win to go home with the financial harmony program. Who is it?
Yes, so drum roll. I'm gonna pick Cyrus and Veronica.
Cyrus and Veronica. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Fantastic. So I think if you could just send your email address in the chat to Tayo, we will organize for you to receive a code, the code for you to be able to enter when you know at the checkout to be able to get a free course. Thank you all for joining us. It's been absolutely fantastic. We'll just close with a word of prayer now. Sweetheart, do you want to do that for us?
Father, we're grateful. Thank you for the opportunity to gather around the table to share one with another. We pray for every family here represented and every person present. I ask that your grace will go with everyone and that you bring us to a season where we enjoy financial harmony indeed. Grant us the wisdom to apply the things we've learned and also bring stability to every home. This we ask and pray for in Jesus' mighty name.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.